morning because that's where I'm at, early in the morning. So I sat in and listened to the questions for Dr. Liu, and man, that's going to be a hard act to follow, but hopefully I will be able to give you some good information. Let me start with a slide presentation that I have. And we'll just use this as a starting point. I haven't followed all the conversations that you've had. So, I'm just gonna do some things just to quickly come to a common point, and then we'll go from there. So really, we're talking about ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a disruptor. Very much just like the written word, the introducing of the printing press, the internet, Google. Now we have ChatGPT, which is just advancing our capability of providing instruction. But as I noticed, it can be a little scary, right? It's changing so quick. It is the fastest adopted technology that we've had to date. And you have to figure out how to use it. You have to learn how to use it in your classroom to support your research. And that can be a little overwhelming. And so workshops like this are a great opportunity to, learn as much as you can. But I also encourage that you go out and experiment with it and just try things. One of the concerns I hear over and over is that students are going to bypass their learning and use ChatGPT to, cheat in their classes. And this is certainly a possibility. But I think if we teach students how to use it correctly, because the business world is using ChatGPT, we can help them be successful in their future careers. So the goal of this is to show you ways that you can use ChatGPT to be successful in your classrooms. And we're going to talk real quickly about ChatGPT. And I know that you've already spent a lot of time on it. And then I really want to get into some prompts. We're going to start out real basic, but I'm going to show you some of the ways that I use it, and some more complex ways that I think you could get better results. So first of all, what is ChatGPT? So it is the GPT part is generative pre-trained transformer. It has been trained on a lot of content. That content has been broken up into small bits, and using probability of those combinations, that's what makes it work. And so based on the prompt that you provide, it pulls that information together based on those probabilities to give you certain answers. The current version is ChatGPT 4. I have not used ChatGPT 4, so it was kind of fascinating watching Professor Liu use ChatGPT 4. Now I'm excited. I want to go test it out. But right now, ChatGPT 3 has been, or 3.5, has been satisfying my needs. And I have not paid the extra expense yet for that. But ChatGPT 4 can do amazing things. It's about 100 times more powerful than version 3. It is about conversation. It is about you give it a prompt, you then give additional prompts based on that information, and it builds information as you're going along. And so that we're gonna look and explore that a little bit as we go along. It is the ChatGPT 3 that I know of. I'm not familiar with how much information was given to GPT 4, but 3 was built on about 45 terabytes of information. The human brain is about 1.25 terabytes. So when you're working on a problem or you're getting assistance for the instruction that you're providing, you're asking like 30 other people to come in and help you work on that content. So that is a lot of support that you can get to build the things that you're building. It does have some limitations. One of the primary limitations is it's not connected to the internet. Although you can use tools and there's strategies that you can use to feed current information into ChatGPT to work with. But that's one of the limitations that it has. It also has biases. So it was a human being decided what information that it would feed ChatGPT. And so it comes with those limitations. There may be some voices that are not heard, different races, different religions, different genders. That may not be part of the conversation. And so that you have to keep that in mind as you're creating content. And now I'm lost. But the fact of, ChatGPT, that, it's a matter of, we just experiment with it and just kind of move it forward. So let's get started. So with ChatGPT, we're already, you're already familiar. I've seen Dr. Liu use ChatGPT. You're already familiar with it. I'm using ChatGPT 3. So in terms of building a course, one of the prompts that I use quite often is I just want it to write a course description. Perhaps that I'm working on a new course and I want ChatGPT to help me do a lot of the basic work. In the past, I would go to Google, see what other individuals used in Google, but here I'm just starting on my own. So maybe I'm doing an introduction to cybersecurity. And I just want a basic course description. Maybe I can present to my bosses to show what my intent is and what that I want to do as far as the course, to build a course. So this is actually quite a long description, and I may ask it to reduce it in size, but it gives me a starting point. And that's what I use ChatGPT for, is really just this starting point. I use it a lot for idea generation or to help me with areas where I'm stuck. And so I use that to get started. As you can tell over on the left-hand side, it starts a conversation. And these are really, that's what's happening, is we are having a conversation with ChatGPT. So now that I have an idea of what I want my course to be, and if I'm happy with it, I'll continue. If I'm not, I'll just make changes to the information. I'll copy this into a document, I'll make changes to it, and then I will push this back into ChatGPT to work with it. So in this case, I'm going to continue the conversation and basically create an 8-week course outline from that information. So it knows, because I'm continuing the conversation, that I am talking about cybersecurity. And so now it will go in and make these this modules for me, or give me an outline that I can work with. Once again, just a starting point, and I can use that information. So looking at this, I decided week 2, what I want to do is now continue that conversation, and I want to create some learning objectives based on this week 2 information. So I'm going to just say I want to write learning objectives on this content, and then I add that content, and it will then and I can, as you can see, I can start pulling on that content, and it will create this information for me, what I want students to know or be able to do from that particular content. And this just helps kind of move things forward just really quickly in the process of course design. So my next is I want to write a lesson plan on this information. And so I can paste that information in. And it will now start writing a lesson plan for me, providing introductions, what slideshows that I need to present, what activities that I want students to participate in, and so forth, right? Also assigning homework assignments. And so this just kind of moves things forward. And when I actually get into the classroom, I can prepare some questions ahead of time based on that same information. And so these are questions that I can come pre-prepared with, ready to go. But ChatGPT is like an intern. Somebody, you know, it could be your virtual assistant. Their job is to pull this information together very rapidly. And as you can see, it does it very quickly. But now it's your job as the instructor, as the supervisor, to make sure that that information is correct. So to use ChatGPT successfully, you actually have to have knowledge about what you're talking about so you can create a good prompt, but also have knowledge of the response you get to verify that it is good information. And if it's not, then you have to go ahead and fix that information. From this, I can create maybe get an idea for creating a video that I want to insert in my class. And so I can ask ChatGPT to create a particular video about securing the network, and I can get specific video shots that I want to have in there and what the voiceover is for that. And once again, you know, this used to take me a long time in order to do this and to make, to advance it. So I see that some questions are forming. So this is probably a good time to take one or two questions. So let me.
There's silence on the other side, so maybe you continue, sir.
Sorry?
There is silence on the other side, but there's a question. Our contents, including programs, teaching aids, are checked for anti-plagiarism. If everybody uses ChatGPT, will this be blanket plagiarism, isn't it? Or wouldn't it be?
I would not necessarily say it's plagiarism, because the way that ChatGPT creates the information, that you get original content basically every time that you use it. think of it kind of like at the human brain. When you began your life, when you were first born, you have basically a blank slate. Now, as you have grown older, you have gotten information. Just like we're participating in this workshop, you're gathering this information. And a year from now, you're going to remember something from this conference, but you won't maybe remember exactly that it came from this workshop or conference. And you're going to use it. And you're using that content. So now, is it your work? No, it's not your work. So I would certainly give credit that you use ChatGPT in preparing this information, and there's ways that you can cite that correctly. But we use a lot of content daily. When basically everything that we write, a great majority of it was based on what we have learned throughout our life. And there are specific times when we go in and we're researching articles and we're very specific and we pull that in and cite it. But more often than not, we are building content based on our life skills or our life knowledge. And I see ChatGPT working in the same way. Now, in terms of students, with students, it's going to be important that you let them know whether or not you want them to use tools like generative AI to help build their content. And if you don't, I recommend that you tell them specifically why you don't want them to use it. And primarily is because it will shortcut their learning. If they can just simply put a prompt in and get something out and turn it in, how much did they really learn? How much did they use their mind to go over that content and get it and stretch it? The things I'm showing you right now are really focused on, here you are a knowledgeable educator, and this is a way that you can help serve your students quicker, but it still requires you to go in and verify that this information is correct. If you add to it specifically from specific journal articles, yeah, certainly you want to make sure that you give proper citation. And that's one of the struggles that the world is figuring out, how to treat this knowledge. So the problem with doing citations to ChatGPT is you won't get the same information again. And so it's uniquely done. Just as if I was to give this presentation again tomorrow, even to you, it would be different. It would be the same but different. So I'd use probably different examples and such. So yeah, great question, but I don't have a definitive answer. I'm sorry. One of the suggestions that Professor Liu mentioned earlier was to translate your responses before you put it into ChatGPT. And you can use ChatGPT to help do that translation. So for example, let me start a new chat. Usually if I'm switching ideas or working on kind of a new problem, I will always start a new chat. So in this case, I've created this prompt to translate all your responses into Russian until I tell you to switch to English. And I will use the word stop to tell you to switch to English. And when it's ready, it will let me know that it's ready. So now what I can do is I can go back to a previous prompt, So for example, write this description for let's see, so write a course description for European history, and if done correctly, it will now come out in Russian. Now, I don't speak Russian, I don't read Russian, so I'm hoping that it is correct, but I can also have it translate back to English and to check that out. So, but you can do the same idea with the prompt and have it always translate to English. But I agree with what Professor Liu said, that I suspect the model has been fed more English, and that would be a stronger aspect for it. So, but this is something that you can use yourself in order to translate things into a different language. So I'm just going to stop generating right there. And what I can do is I can take this portion and say, translate to English. It was kind. It translated everything for me. That's not what I was looking for, but that's it's certainly a strategy that you can use to go from one language to another. So far I've showed you some, those are pretty basic prompts. I didn't spend a lot of time. I didn't spend a lot of energy on them. But what I want to do now is kind of combine all those prompts together into a very high level prompt, one that's quite complex. And I'm going to share this worksheet with you with all my prompts, so you will have this to go. And then you can use this prompt as a kind of an idea, as a starting point. So let me show you what this prompt looks like, and I want to explain it to you. So this is well, let me just start a new chat. Sorry, let's start that again. So this prompt, I work as an instructional technologist and a designer. So the first part of the prompt is, you are to act as. You can act as a professor, you can act as a firefighter, you can act as a dentist, you can act as a lot of roles. And what that does is it helps ChatGPT kind of focus its areas of knowledge and pull that information together. So in this case, I'm acting as a high-level instructional technologist that is able to provide course development expertise. To that, I am bringing a lot of knowledge. I understand Bloom's taxonomy, universal design for learning, community of inquiry, active learning, how to build goals and objectives, all kinds of information that I'm bringing, that I'm asking ChatGPT to, as they're acting as, bring this information together. Certain traits that high acumen, I can do critical thinking, strategic thinking, but really what I want it to do is I'm going to ask it to use machine learning, predictive modeling, natural language, and in the end, identify successful elements for a new college level course. And so I'm going to tell it in the future to provide an input. And what it will do is it will create a report for me on ideas for designing a course to include the following 5 categories: So I asked it prior to give me a course description. It will do that. It'll give me a target audience, give me some recommended reading list, goals and objectives, and then provide a course outline. And I want it to include those learning objectives, that course content, learning activities, learning assessments. Ideally, I want it to make it easier for viewing. And I can use this over and over. So when it's ready, it's going to tell me that it has read this, understood it, and is ready for me to give that a prompt to go forward. So here we go. And as you can see, it says the course bot is ready. So all I have to do is give it an idea for a course, and I can put that information in. So my course is Introduction to European History. And I'm going to repeat it over and over. It's important that you verify the information that comes out of this to make sure that it's correct and current. Okay, and this will continue on through week 8, but hopefully you get the idea. And as you can see, by building, taking time to craft kind of a really detailed prompt, it could be a useful tool for you. And it could be a tool for building study guides for your students. It could be used for, a lot of different tasks that you may have in front of you. So I'm going to, we're just gonna stop that prompt. It stopped on its own. So if I wanted it to continue, I would just continue generating, and it would pick up where it left off and continue on. So now I'll just stop. So new chat. I see that there's some questions piling up. So maybe this is a good time to attend to some of those.
Yes, we do have a few questions in the chat. Let's just interrupt. Yes, one second. So first of all, our participants ask if that is possible for you to send your highly creative prompt right now to the chat, the one that you've just used. The prompt. So yeah, we do have some comments.
I can. Well, there's no reason that I can't. So let me grab that particular prompt, and this is my whole worksheet. So I will put that into the chat.
We have a question. Yes, unfortunately, sometimes ChatGPT gives out inaccurate, incorrect answers on the grammar of, for example, the Russian language. Yes, in this case, the teacher can change the prompt, but what about the students who do not know the materials and do not know the difference and receive the ChatGPT answers, which are incorrect?
Well, that is a great question. And that is one of the challenges that we have in front of us. In order to use ChatGPT well, it's important that you have foundational knowledge, that you know your discipline very well. And it's easy for students to put information in and get something back, but we also have to educate them on also how to get the best responses out of it. They have to be taught what the, if the response is right or wrong. So I recommend that you actually bring ChatGPT into your classroom as another student. So when you're teaching a class and you're having a conversation with your students, that you can then, after all the responses are given by your students, ask ChatGPT the same question and see what the responses are, and see if they match what the students provided. If you see something wrong that ChatGPT had provided, then you as a teacher have to go out and explain why this information is wrong, and make it a learning moment. This is going to be the challenge for a while. This is an emerging technology. It's not right all the time, but it's right a lot of the time. So being able to educate back and forth what's appropriate, and teach students how to say, okay, if this is not right, how can we make it better, and use ChatGPT as a tool.
Yes, thank you so much for your answer. Actually, there are a lot of comments in the chat. Everyone likes your prompts, and especially when we read your book, 80 Ways How to Use ChatGPT, we see that all the prompts you've had there, they are from practice. So if it's okay for you, is it possible for you to give them, our participants, all the prompts that you used today, that you screen shared, and the prompts that you used today? Could you please share them with the chat?
I did. I put a link in the chat, and that should take you to...
Right, but there is one comment that there is no access to this link, so maybe it's restricted access.
No, I am seeing a lot of people looking at it, so.
Yeah, I think there was some technical mistakes. I can, for example, yeah, I see the link. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have one more question. And what about the sources of information? Do we need to indicate that this or that course or this or that material was based on the ChatGPT chat?
I would, as a good practice, I would do that. If you used it, just like in my book, at the very end of my book, I said I used ChatGPT to build the book. I would. It's good practice, and it also demonstrates to your students that you believe in this, using of tools and information, and where you got the information, how you built that information. So I would say yes. So let me, we'll hold on to some of those questions. Let me show you some other ways that I use. So one of the powerful tools or capabilities that is out there is called open education resources. So purchasing a textbook can be very expensive, and too expensive sometimes. Some wonderful educators have made their content available for free. So for example, this is a chemistry book that is freely available to use, and also freely available for you to change. And so for example, looking at, this particular content dealing with covalent bonding in chemistry, lots of information that you have available to you. So as I had demonstrated before, I could translate this. Now it's up to you to make sure that it is correct, right? But at a very basic level, it's going to give you a starting point that you can go in and work with this information to make it your own, and make it so you could recreate this book for your students, and use the images that they have, but also make that content available. But you can also use additional. So in order to do this, you would have to put in chunks at a time to make that translation, and that's the recommended way of doing that. However, if you wanted to create, say, a vocabulary list or exam questions, there is another way that you can use it. So what I had done is I went in to this particular section. I copied all the content for a number of pages, and as you can see, a lot of content, and I pasted it into another document. And so this document, it's got 13 pages of information. And what I want to do is I want to test my students on this information. So to do that, I can copy all this information, and I use a program called ChatGPT Splitter. And what I do is I paste that information in. I say that I want it at 8,000 characters, and I process that information. And so it gives me 6 blocks of information that I can work with. And so all I have to do is copy the first block, and I'm going to start a new chat, and I pop that first block in there, and it says, okay, I've read this first block. I now go to block 2, and I'm only going to use 3 blocks, otherwise it'll get too long. And so I'm just using 3 blocks right now to demonstrate what I want it to do. So I put this information in there. It's ChatGPT has read that information. And so now I decide that I want to make a slide presentation. And so create 15 slides on this content with image recommendations. And so now it will give me recommendations for what's going to be on the slide, what the titles are, what content. It did not include the images as I had hoped. So I can certainly go back and ask it again. You forgot the images, okay? And so it's telling me that information, but this still helps me build slides with the information that I'm looking for based on the previous read content. I can also ask it to build a vocabulary list with definitions based on the content. And as always, it's up to you to make sure that it's correct before you give it to your students. Here I can create 5 multiple choice questions based on the content with answers. or true and false questions. And so forth. So I could actually, and I can build another prompt to build a study guide based on that selection of content and have all these things prepared for the students, maybe not with the answers, but something that they can work with to help learn the content. So that is a useful way. So once, and here is, if I want the high points of that content, I can get the bullet points or provide a bulleted list, and it'll give me the high points. I could build lesson plans, all kinds of things based on that content. So that is how, one of the tools that I have. It's called ChatGPT Splitter. Really powerful tool for working with long content. You can copy content from a PDF document, put it in there. It's a tool I use all the time. When the current book that I'm working on, I had it pull in my chapters to write chapter summaries based on that information. So all right. Let me move on to research and show you some strategies for research real quick that I use. So I'm going to start a new chat. And so my basic prompt is this: provide me 10 research ideas. All right, I'm looking for something that I want to write about. And so in my case, I'm going to do ChatGPT for teaching and learning. And so this will very quickly give me some ideas that I want to work with. And then from there, in order to help my research, what I can do is, say I like this one. I want a set of keywords that I can use to help with my research, and I can go and ask for a list that I can use for like Google Scholar to go in and start doing research, or go to my academic databases and start using it there. If I wanted to get started, maybe with an outline on that specific content, it will do, very similar to building a course, that it will create an outline based on that information. Some things to think about as I'm, moving forward. And certainly I would have to, look at it and see if that meets what my needs are. And if I'm not happy, I just ask for it to do it again. But this strategy, so I have a tool here called Zotero. Now, Zotero is for citation building. I am working on a new book for mastery quizzing, and I have gone out and started my research, and I have 239 articles to look through, a lot of articles. But what I want to do is speed up the process. And so I want to go ahead and grab notes ahead of time. And, what are some of the key words, right? Some of the things that I've shown, what are the key points of the article? And to do that, I use Microsoft Edge, and Dr. Liu talked about this in using Bing. And so what I can do is I've downloaded, say, an article, and I can drag that article up into the browser. So here is this particular article, right? It's a typical journal article. And what I could do is turn on Bing. So up in the upper right-hand corner, I can have Bing running.
Dr. Skrabut, we don't see the new screen. For us to see the edge, you should make the new presentation, new share.
Thank you. For some reason, I was not showing my window. But that's it. You know, it doesn't let me show my window. Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so here we're at. That's important for me to know. I thought I was sharing my window. So basically I drug an article there. So I popped the article up there, and here I have it. So now I have a set of prompts that I can use to look at this particular article. So I'm using Microsoft Bing up in the upper right-hand corner, and I go ahead and pop that in there, and it will summarize the main parts of this article, ideally, hopefully. Maybe today. Let's try it again. There we go. All right. And so I have a variety of different prompts that I use. And I have basically 5 of them that I run on each of my articles. And so I get the key points. I get a list of research terms that I can use. And so forth. And so I use that in order to help move my research forward. If I see something that's really attractive, naturally I will go back into the article and really give a deep dive. But this is the starting point. And so I bring that research together, and I use mind mapping tools in order to, pull things together. It just helps to speed up my research and, get information out just a little quicker. So let's go back to, whoops. My ChatGPT, where are we? There we go. And so that, that helps me move things further. So once again, I've created a tool that helps me do that a little quicker. So I'm going to start a new chat. This time I am working like an academic librarian. And I have all kinds of library science knowledge that I'm using. And what I want it to do is successfully research so I can get started on an article. It's gonna, basically give me a thesis, an outline, keyword list, recommended resources, and so forth. And it's going to tell me that my research bot is ready. So I am using this particular prompt, investigating the potential of ChatGPT as a tool for promoting critical thinking and problem solving. And so it will now go out and start working on this issue for me. So a lot of the things that I did one step at a time, I built it into one large prompt in order to get going. And so forth. So that just kind of speeds things up. All right, I have one last thing to show, and then I'll just turn on the questions and we'll go from there. So this one deals with that's not it. Oh yeah, that's what I want.
This video is sponsored by Brilliant. So recently I decided to build it.
So here I am.
This outdoor season. Did you know this?
Hold on.
Sprint has everything you need to get your small business outside. Kirsten does.
Hey guys, how's it going?
So I found this wonderful video out on the internet talking about learning how to write code. And so what I want to use this in the class, and I want to create prompts for my students to be able to interact with this information. So one of the tools that is available is a tool called YouTube and article summary. So I get there, I use a tool called Extensity. This allows me to turn extensions on and off so I don't overwhelm my browser. And I can turn things on when I need it. So in this case, I'm turning the YouTube article summary on. I will, as you can see, it's just a video. I'll refresh the video.
Hey guys, how's it going? So I've been coding for 5 years now.
So up in the upper right-hand corner now is this capability of getting a transcript. Oh no. Sorry, I guess we're not. So normally I would have a transcript. Oh, probably no closed captions. So they did not make closed captions available. So let me see if I can find a better
This is
video.
how I would learn to code if I could.
Okay, so this particular video has a transcription. So I could copy the transcription out, right? Make a copy of that and then go into ChatGPT and use it. Or I can go and get a summary of this by clicking that little ChatGPT prompt. And it automatically brought over that transcript. And now it created 5 prompts based of that, or 5 bullet points based on that content. But I could ask it to create create a slide presentation, and it would go ahead and do the same things that we had been doing for all this other content. So that is that's the last tool that I want to show. It's YouTube, and I have links to that, so feel free to check those out. So I know there's a question or two, so.
Yes, of course, sir. And maybe more. If you can stay here longer, we will appreciate if you answer the questions. Thank you very much, well in advance for answering those. So question 1. This is more like the director of teaching technology and design. Our participant has the following question. Do educational institutions or shall educational institutions have ChatGPT experts on their payroll? in order to integrate ChatGPT in the educational process?
Well, ChatGPT first came out in November of 2022. So I'm going to say no, but it's coming very rapidly. That I have been very busy talking to other education organizations just like yours about the power of ChatGPT. They are recognizing how important it is. And so they want people to be smarter on how to use it to be able to work more efficiently and provide better results. In a recent survey from Resume Builder, they looked at 1,000 different job descriptions across all kinds of jobs, and 90% of them are asking new employees to know how to use artificial intelligence. So this is definitely important, but most of the instructional technologists I know, they are definitely looking at it because they know their faculty are curious about it and want to be able to provide good support to the faculty. So that's why I wrote the book.
Thank you so much. And thank you very much for your book. This is very timely. And indeed, this is like the guidelines when you do not know what to write in your prompt, and then you can go to your textbook and you can ask user. It's great.
And speaking of the book, if you want, here is a free copy. So, and I will throw that in the chat also. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for the link. Thank you for offering it for free. The question is, how in the US educational establishments you and your colleagues find out about new tools like Split for cutting large text for ChatGPT? Are there any guidelines provided by universities or colleges or maybe some educational departments of the state? Or this is just, that is what you hear on the grapevine and you get it from your peers. So how do you find out about advanced and new technologies? In the previous presentation, we were speaking about fearing of lagging behind. So how do you and your colleagues cope with this, and how do you find out about these new developments?
Wonderful question. Let me pull up the tool that I use. I don't know if I one of the tools that I have at my disposal. What happened? Okay, share. So this is a tool that I recommend. It's called Feedly. So Feedly is, you can basically subscribe to blog posts, and based on those blog posts, you know, it gives me a quick list to look at. So for example, here is, you know, here's somebody posted, can generative AI build me a website? And so here is a blog post that talks about that. So depending on who you subscribe to, will help funnel those conversations. And I happen to just follow how to create AI marketing personas. And so based on my interest area, they are all talking about artificial intelligence. So for me, you know, this is one of the tools that I use to kind of keep my knowledge coming towards me. So I don't have to go look for it. It just comes to me automatically, and I just review this, you know, daily or weekly. see what articles are of interest. And what I do is I keep a worksheet, just like I shared the worksheet with you, and I will share it again to make sure that everyone has it again. So this particular worksheet. I build a set of worksheets on a variety of topics. So I have my ChatGPT prompts. And so, for example, when I see tools that I like, I put them into my AI tool sheet. I am looking for learning how to write fiction. And so here are a variety of prompts that I've collected talking about how to write fiction. So this is what I do. As I find something and I think it'll be beneficial to the faculty I work with or beneficial to me in my interest, I collect those prompts and I test them. I go out and check them out, see if they work and if they serve my needs. If they don't, I throw them out and I continue on.
This is a great idea. Thank you for sharing. And I think that many of us would like to keep this worksheet. I thought of how can we systematize this information. This is one of the options. Thank you for giving this insight, and thank you for this good practice, and thank you for the link to feedly.com. I'm getting back to the question by one of our participants. Do you remember we had a question, should we make a reference that the training course was created through ChatGPT? The question is, what should be the formal way of referring to ChatGPT as to a source?
Give me a second.
Okay.
So this is DeVry University. They have put a recommendation in on how to do it. So this is one way to do it. But as they mentioned, you will not be able to go back to that specific conversation. So another way to do it that I think is more accurate is to just say that it was part of a personal communication with ChatGPT and when you did it. So.
Yeah, that's the way. In the meantime, we have already discussed it at our course because ChatGPT has never provided a similar answer, so it's difficult to reference to it, but indeed indicating that this material, this teaching aid, has been drafted with the application of various advanced tools, including ChatGPT. This is one of the solutions. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And there's another question. In arts, there are various schools and definitions for the same phenomena. And there can be different terms and different definitions, especially in arts. Can ChatGPT benchmark different definitions when making the vocabulary list?
Yeah, that's a great question. A definitive definition, I think, would be problematic. A definition you could work with, that would be something different. To get a definitive definition, I would probably research more formal sources, databases, to build your list. You could use ChatGPT to help identify those terms, but then I would go back and look for what the formal definitions are based on the industry, using journal articles and such. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you. There's another question. Is it possible to use ChatGPT when writing scientific mathematical articles?
I have not yet heard promising things about ChatGPT and mathematics, so I would be very hesitant. But I would go out and explore. So I don't have a good answer for that.
Okay, we've exhausted the list of our questions. Oh, there's another question about anti-plagiarism, but we have already answered this one. So I think that our participants will get back to our recording and they can rewind the recording and watch it. Another question, are there disciplines in the US, like subjects at universities where they teach and learn interactions, interoperations with neural networks?
I'm going to say yes, but I don't know what they are. So
okay, clear. Thank you. We are getting lots of comments. All of the attendees appreciate you, Dr. Skrabut. Thank you so much for the book, for the links, for your openness, and for your willingness to share all the information available at your disposal, all the information that you have accumulated after ChatGPT was launched. Thank you for sharing it, not only with your colleagues, but with the whole world. Thank you so much, and we are looking forward to see you in the future.